Jake Morris was used to strange places. As a travel vlogger, he sought forgotten locations, unmapped ruins, and lost history. When he heard of a road in Romania that no longer existed on any modern map, he knew he had to find it. Locals refused to talk about it. An old man at a bar warned him.
That road does not lead to where you think. People who take it never return the same.
Jake laughed it off. Myths, superstition. At 3:07 a.m., deep in the forest, his GPS froze. The road ahead wasn't on the map, yet it was there waiting. The deeper he drove, the thicker the fog became. The trees twisted unnaturally, their branches reaching like hands. Then his car engine died. Up ahead, beyond the fog, was a massive stone archway leading into a village. Jake felt his stomach tighten. Something was wrong, but the camera was rolling. He had to document this. He stepped forward. The village was ancient, its buildings made of blackened stone and wood, covered in symbols carved deep into the doors. The people moved strangely. Their clothes were centuries old, their skin pale and stretched to tight over their bones. None of them spoke, they only watched. Jake raised his camera.
Hello, does anyone speak English?
Silence. Then, from a dark alley, a whisper.
You shouldn't be here.
Jake spun around. A woman stood there, dressed in 17th century clothing, her face hidden by a black veil.
Please, leave before it chooses you.
Before what chooses me?
Jake asked. She trembled.
The Sopter.
The what?
The Whisperer. It watches, it mimics, and when the time comes, it replaces.
Jake's blood ran cold. Then the villagers turned their heads all at once, staring at him with unblinking black eyes. A distant knocking sound echoed through the air. Jake swallowed hard.
What is that?
The woman grabbed his arm, nails digging into his skin.
It wakes.
Jake followed the woman into a dark stone church. Its ceiling collapsed, vines strangling the altar. She pulled out an ancient book, its pages yellowed and torn.
This village was erased from history in 1632.
Her voice shook.
An army passed through seeking shelter. By sunrise, they were gone. No bodies, just their voices whispering from the trees.
Jake's chest tightened.
What happened to them?
The woman pointed to an old painting on the wall. It showed a faceless figure, thin and tall, its head tilted unnaturally, whispering into the ear of a soldier.
It does not kill.
She whispered.
It takes.
Jake's hands trembled as he flipped through the book's pages. The final entry read, "If it whispers your name, it has already become you." Jake's stomach dropped.
How do I leave?
The woman's eyes filled with terror.
You don't.
A chill ran down Jake's spine.
No, that's bullshit. I walked in, I can walk out.
The woman just shook her head. Jake stormed out of the church and froze. His car was gone. The stone archway leading back to the road gone. The village stretched moved endlessly now, twisting in ways that didn't make sense. His camera glitched, the footage warping. Then, a mirror appeared in front of him, a mirror that hadn't been there before, and in the reflection, his double stood there, grinning. Jake's breath hitched.
No!
The reflection moved closer, but Jake hadn't moved. Then it spoke.
I finally got out.
Jake's breath came in short, ragged gasps. His double stood before him, grinning. The smile was to white, the teeth to perfect like a wax figure wearing his skin.
You're not real.
Jake whispered. His double tilted its head, eyes gleaming with something inhuman.
Neither are you.
Then it moved, not walked, glided. Jake stumbled back, heart pounding. The villagers stood still, their heads bowed, refusing to watch.
Help me!
Jake screamed. No one answered. His double laughed softly, a sound that echoed in his own head.
Run.
It whispered.
I want to feel the chase.
A cold wind blasted through the village, kicking up dust and ash. Jake turned and bolted, sprinting down the cobbled streets. Behind him, the footsteps didn't match his own. Too fast, too sharp, like something wasn't running on two legs. Jake didn't look back. He turned a corner dead end. A massive mirror stood before him, fogged with breath, and through the glass, he saw something else watching, not his reflection, not his double, something older, a faceless thing, stretched too tall, whispering in a voice made of hundreds of overlapping echoes.
This is how it always ends.
The mirror shattered, and Jake fell through. Jake hit the ground hard. Blinding light. It wasn't warm. It wasn't the comforting glow of the sun. It was too white, too perfect, like a spotlight in an empty void. The sky was a flat, endless expanse of pale gray, stretching forever with no clouds, no sun. Just an unnatural brightness that hurt to look at. The world around him was still, too still. His head pounded as he sat up. His car was parked exactly where he had left it. The forest loomed behind him. The road ahead stretched into nothing. His hands trembled as he grabbed his camera, still recording.
No way!
He whispered.
It was a dream. It had to be.
He pressed play. Then the video showed him standing in the village, but his eyes were black, his face blank of emotion.
I finally got out.
The recording of him whispered. Jake's stomach twisted. The brightness around him flickered, like a light bulb on the verge of burning out. A quiet, ragged breath sounded beside him. Jake turned slowly toward the car window. The glass had fogged up as if someone had just exhaled against it. Slowly, letters began to form on the glass, written from the inside. They spelled, "Look at yourself." Jake's hands clenched into fists. He turned toward the rearview mirror, and his reflection blinked, but he hadn't blinked. His reflection's lips curled into a slow, unnatural smile. Then, in a voice that was no longer just his,
Drive home, Jake. Pretend nothing happened. Let me settle in.
Jake screamed. 2 weeks later, Jake's latest YouTube video went live. It was titled, "The Road That Doesn't Exist. I Have Proof." The comments flooded.
This is insane. How did you find this place?
Dude, your voice sounds different.
Anyone else feel like something is watching through the screen?
Jake sat at his desk, staring at the thumbnail. It showed him standing in the village, but something was wrong. His shadow didn't match his body. His phone buzzed. Unknown caller. Jake swallowed hard and answered. A whisper crawled through the speaker.
I told you. I got out.
The line went dead. Jake turned slowly toward his mirror. His reflection wasn't moving. Then it grinned.